Hey everyone, my name is Bridget Emery. I'm a special educator at the Bridge School. I'm an ECSE alumni. I'm also an alumni of the PATH and the MetroCAD program at State. And I'm really excited to be talking to you today, virtually, about my experience teaching at the Bridge School and about the population of students I work with. So let's get started. I'll share my screen with you all. I now know from recording all of these that I'm not meant to be a vlogger, so bear with me, please. So my work at the Bridge School, here we go. So just to give you a little bit more information about the Bridge School, if you haven't heard of us, we are a non-public, nonprofit organization. A lot of people who grew up in this area have heard about the Bridge School from the Bridge School Benefit Concert, which went on for 30 years, and it was a really big source of funding for our school. Neil Young, who started the school with his wife Peggy, would invite all of their artist friends to come and throw on a big party, a big concert, and it was a lot of fun. So that's how a lot of people know the name, but not many people know what we do. So let's get into that. We serve children with severe speech and physical impairments. Our population of students is very small. Our maximum capacity that we can have at the school is 14 students. And in my individual classroom, there are only 2. We're allowed to have 7 each. So thankfully, I've only had 5 students, max 5 students, since my start at the Bridge School, which has just been nice for keeping the ratios low and being able to do a lot of one-on-one work. So the Bridge School teaches preschool to 5th grade. So in my classroom, it's preschool, pre-K, and K, and then they transition into the elementary class. I've been really enjoying my 3 years in the preschool classroom. I did start as a preschool teacher, teaching typically developing students. Then I moved into an inclusive program, and I've been at Bridge for the past 3 years with just students with severe speech and physical impairments, and it has been a huge adjustment, but it has been so much fun and just a really big learning lesson for what I'm able to do and what I'm able to learn from the students and the families. So the goal of the program is to be able to give students the tools to independently communicate and transition back into their home programs. So like I said, we do end at 5th grade. So at 5th grade, they would transition back into their program, whether they're able to be mainstreamed with an abundance of accommodations, or if they do go back into a specialized program like a special day class. Our goal is to be able to give them those tools so that they can do it. So here's just a couple pictures to show you my little cutie patooties. I do ask that you do not screenshot any of the pictures of the students. Thank you in advance. So this is just a typical day at Bridge. So you'll see on the left, we have a student in a walking support system. This particular one is a kid walk. And then the student on the right is in her wheelchair. You'll see a lot in these pictures. The picture on the left is showing one of our art programs. We really like to get into our walkers and take our shoes off and do art that way. And then the picture on the right is a music program. So you'll see different, kind of just different setups in these pictures. So I did follow along in making this presentation with your syllabus to make it a little more meaningful for you. So I hope you're able to get some stuff out of my presentation. So we do work in an interdisciplinary team, which has been the most eye-opening part of working at Bridge School, I think. Being a classroom teacher, I'd never worked directly with a speech and language pathologist or even knew what an assistive technologist was. So having all of those professionals on the team has been really impactful for the students and also just the team dynamic, having different professional and educational backgrounds, just putting it all together to get the best outcome for the students, I think has been really influential. So this is our team, of course, the family, the teacher. In the classroom, the teacher and the SLP are considered co-teachers. And then we have our our instructional assistants. And then we have our assistive technologists and our occupational therapists. So those last two, they're not in the classroom 24/7. They're there as a support team for us. So if we are maybe getting into our kid walk and a screw or bolt fell off, they would just pop in and help us with that. If we're doing a lot of body-based movement, the OT can come help with that. Right now we have a lot of feeding goals in our classroom, so the OT spends most of her days in our classroom doing snack with us, so helping with like pulling straps down, holding on to tools, using those pincer grasps, different things like that. So we meet weekly to discuss the students and any changes that need to be made. This is when we're able to collaborate on what's working and what needs to be updated or kind of tweaked a little bit. In the classroom, we are constantly trialing different communication systems with the students. So these team meetings are really a great way for everyone on the team to give their input. For example, if there's a student who's trialing a communication system and they're a direct selector, so something they're able to do, just directly select something with their finger, that's where the occupational therapist can come in and maybe give us a splint or a suggestion on how to support the elbow so that that student is able to reach out and directly select something on their communication system. So the curriculum we use, we do follow along with the Preschool Learning Foundations for an Common Core, but the curriculum that we use and adapt to work with the other state curriculums is the Early Literacy in Action. It's a language-focused curriculum for preschoolers, and it's by Betty Bunce. I highly recommend everyone just giving it a look. It is super fun. It's a play-focused curriculum, and it focuses on vocabulary acquisition, mainly within dramatic play. So we follow along with the monthly thematic units. We just pick one per month just to be able to have that time to really take in the information we're doing, reading the stories, learning the vocabulary, and acting out the different scenarios that we're putting into dramatic play. Along with the, we call it the Betty Bunce, along with the Betty Bunce, we use the MacArthur-Bates Communication Development Inventory to help us establish what vocabulary we're going to be using. So this is really where the SLP comes and supports me. So the MacArthur-Bates is an inventory that tracks the first words of typically developing students. So we use the vocabulary from the inventory to really set the foundation of what our students would be using, what words they would be learning if they were typically developing and if they were producing verbal speech. So we use this inventory to plan our curriculum, but we also use this to have the parents fill out and give us their information. A lot of the times their receptive vocabulary is a lot higher or has a lot more, they have a lot more receptive vocabulary than their speech. So that's something that we just use in the classroom. So we pull our vocab words from here and we make sure we include them in our story, in the scripts that we write for Center, just to build on those first words. So this is really going to be a lengthy part of my presentation. We're going to talk about the daily schedule, and I'm going to kind of break down what we do in each part and give a little bit examples where I can, because this really makes this is what makes Bridge School so unique, just all the different things that we do in the classroom. So we start with morning meeting. So this is where we focus on our attendance. So during morning meeting, it's really when we work on our greetings, initiating turns, recognition of peers, names, and pictures. So this is where we really work on looking around to greet people, just the basic foundational skills of a greeting. Looking, making eye to object, eye to eye contact when able, waving. We use a lot of body-based communication. We also practice using with our step-by-steps. So the step-by-step is kind of the first tool that you get when you're in the classroom. And it's really nice because you're able to record sequential messages. Different step-by-steps also have different levels that you can use. So it doesn't just have to be one message, it can be sequential. So just to give you an example, if you haven't seen one of these before. Hi, my name's Bridget. What's yours? So it has that. That's how you know it's recording. We're just going to turn that off. And then I'll just greet you all.
Hi, Bridget.
Turned it too low, sorry.
What's yours?
And so we use this as a tool for greetings. We can also use it to say things like, I want more, let's go. That's really like to initiate turns or to initiate the start of songs or activities. So those are some things that we focus on in attendance. Then we move into our outside time. And this is a really fun time because that is when we're able to do some position changes for the students. So a lot of the students do not have a change of positioning at home that really works for them or allows their body to stretch out. Walking support systems or standing support systems are very expensive. And so a lot of students don't have access to those in their home. So that's why we really want to incorporate that into our program. So at outside time, we're able to get into our walkers, do some stretch base, breaks, just some body-based movement, go into the garden, go onto the playground, just walk around. And there, at this point, we're not expecting people to be able to ambulate independently. There is always someone with the students at this time just to support them. Our program really isn't focused on teaching students how to walk. Rather, you are walking or moving through the environment just to learn about it. Learn about the playground, learn, in centers, we get back into our walkers. So going in and being able to walk up to a table and act out whatever is on the table, not just having to sit kind of back because maybe your wheelchair doesn't fit under the table, something like that. So outside time is really fun, dance parties, all that good stuff. Then when they come in, then it's our music program, and that is led by our SLP, our speech and language pathologist. I'm also lucky because our SLP is a man, which is kind of rare in the classroom, and so the students are just awestruck by him, which is really nice. Just to kind of switch up the sounds of our voices. It's not always mine. It's someone else's is a little deeper too. So it just gives them that that change of pace, change of people. It's nice. Anyway, so in music, it's when we focus a lot on body-based communication. So body-based communication is what we can refer to as low-tech communication. So gestures like a point to a teacher or a friend, even a wave, for the students who are able to use their gross motor as much, even looking at someone, that can be low-tech communication, looking at who you want to talk to, who you want to give the turn to, things like that. Also signing, anything really you're doing with your hands, clapping, stomping, and throughout the year and throughout the month, depending on the ability of the student. And this is where we would really start to introduce mid or high-tech systems with music. So for example, we just, before all of these closures, we were doing Pizza Parlor, and the song was "Who Stole the Pizza from the Pizza Box?" So someone who is a low-tech, who's using a low-tech communication system, or their gestures, just using their bodies to communicate, they would be prompted to say the "who" with their arms or pointing to the friends. Yes, you. Whereas a mid or a high-tech communicator, or a student using a mid or high-tech communication system, they could ask the question using a device. Who, me? Something like that, just for an example. I don't have a mid or high-tech system here with me to show you, but there are many different programs you could be using. So for snack time, that is really a big self-determination activity. So self-determination is a big part of our program as well, in addition to communication, because we do want to teach the students independent skills so they're able to advocate for themselves. So this is when we really focus on things like self-feeding, when applicable, unzipping their own lunch boxes, moving in their walkers if they're in it, moving to the snack table to indicate, yep, this is time for snack. This is also a time where we're able to talk about their home news. So home news is something, a lot of the times we use our step-by-steps for. It's really nice because it can go back and forth. And because we do have the ability to record sequential messages, they're able to share a whole message from home. So it's nice because we're able to bring home into the school, and then at the end of the day, we send school to the home. So that's snack time. I'll go more into home news a little bit later. So then we move into story, and story time is really fun because it's a time where we're able to encourage the students to look, listen, and respond. That's really when we are working on the vocabulary words that we pulled from our Betty Bunce or our MacArthur. We're labeling a lot of objects, and then the objects turn into pictures in the story. A big part of our story program is the repeated line. So teaching students the expectant delay and expected pauses and back and forth communication. And also the repeated line is a great way to just increase engagement and participation. It's a really nice way to practice switch activation because it's a repeated line in a story that happens every time. So I'm trying to think of an example. I can't, we just started reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar. So our repeated line right now is, but, and then I cue them that way. And they say each time after every page, he was still hungry. So that's something we practice at story time. And then we move into centers, and that is just an extension of the story. And that's when we're acting out real world experiences while still focusing and building our vocabulary from the story. This is also a time where they're able to get into their mobility systems again. One thing that our assistive technologist always says, which really hits me, and I hope you're able to interpret and make it what you want, but in our program, and when they're in their walkers, we're not walking to learn, we're not learning to walk, we're walking to learn. So we are moving around the environment to be able to learn what's happening around us, using the objects around us, having that skill to be able to go and grab it yourself or go walk up to it yourself. That really is the missing piece for these students who aren't able to independently move themselves around. And then lastly, the home news. So the home news, like I said, we send it to and fro. It's sequential messages, brings in home into the school and school into home. And that's really where we try and continue to stick to our theme. So we can ask them, like, we can say something like, today I planted grass. And then we always end with a question. Can I see grass at home? And that way, it just continues to build those real world experiences that our students who have severe speech and physical impairments aren't always able to get, or they're not able to get like their typically developing peers. So here's some more just cute little pictures of the kiddos. So in these pictures, both students are in their mobility devices. And so this is definitely a tool that we use to increase participation. The students really like being in their walkers and being able to have full movement of their arms, being able to stomp their feet, feel the ground. It's really fun, and it's amazing to see what they're capable of doing when they have those different tools. So the picture on the left, we were picking apples. So just another tool, an extension of the arm, giving them a net, there we go, giving them a little net, and then a little bucket to be able to pick and put their things in there. And then the picture on the right is really just a fun sensory activity. We do use a lot of Mylar or reflective materials for our students who have CVI. And for those of you who don't know what CVI is, it's cortical visual impairment. So it's a disconnect between what your eyes are seeing and the interpretation getting to the brain. So it's not necessarily that you can't see, it's that there is a disconnect between what you're seeing and what you're interpreting. So we use a lot of shiny materials. This activity in the picture is just a fun sensory activity, but we do use a lot of shiny materials just to teach. Let's see, I believe I have something right here. So I forgot to pause like Marissa told me to, but here we go. So teaching them about the book that we use. So it has 4 sides and our pictures on it. And we use the shiny so that they're able to look at it for things that are maybe too complex or just hard to identify. Okay, so this is just a really ugly picture, but I wanted to show you our main teaching station. So in addition to the adaptations for all of the physical impairments or the speech delays, we also set up our environment. This is mainly set up for our students with CVI because having a lot of visual distractors is really hard to target what they want to be looking at and what they are trying to interpret all at the same time. So you can see we use a really large computer monitor. That's what I read my stories on. That's what we listen to our songs on. It's nice and big, so they're able to see it. Also, the walls are blacked out. The just space underneath the screen is blacked out, so that really illuminates the screen and directs their attention. You'll see to the right of the screen, there's also a light box. We use the light box a lot for those students who are severely impacted with CVI. So that's like there's 3 phases. They would be in phase 1, where they need a lot of the light to illuminate and highlight what they're trying to target visually. So this is just an example of the different types of responses and response styles that we have in our classroom. So we use a lot of real objects at first to build that, that vocabulary. And so we can present choices by offering the real objects. So do you want, what is that? Do you want a crocodile or do you want the giraffe? And we would, at this point, be expecting the students to reach out and pick which one they want. And at that point, then we would label it again. Giraffe. The second picture is for a student who is unable to use her hands to directly grab or select something. So her main use of choice making is from her eyes. So by holding up the two pictures, we're asking her to pick an animal, just like in the first picture. Do you want the zebra or do you want the monkey? And at that point, we would be looking for where she's looking with her eyes to select which one she wants. And then we have, and both of those would be low tech, just so you know. Period. The third picture would be our mid to high tech. So we have a student directly selecting which animal she wants. She's using a communication app on her iPad for this one. And you can see it's kind of blacked out around. We call it an occluder. So it just kind of really shows which one she needs to be focusing on at that point. And I just wanted to include some other tools that we use in the classroom just to show you. We do use a lot of AT and AAC, so I wanted to show you what's out there. A lot is from our speech and language pathologist, and to get it for students in the district, I don't know how that really works out. That's something that I'm unfamiliar with. But if you have an SLP that you work with, or they have one from CCS, you could be able to get these tools for the classroom. So the picture on the left is, those are just called Big Macs. We use the Big Macs in the classroom to kind of set up stations. There's a picture following this where you'll be able to see it in action. But we line it up, and then you see the strips of Mylar just to really highlight where we want the student to activate. The picture on the right is just a blackboard with a switch, and we covered the switch with Mylar tape. This one's gold Mylar. And so it just gives you an idea of how much highlighting and isolation needs to happen for these students to be able to really target their switches. So it's just a blackboard like this. This is just cardboard covered in felt, and then you'd put the switch on the middle, so that way when it's there, it's just the only thing that they're able to see, or the only thing we want them to be able to isolate on. And then the third picture, or the picture in the middle, is, sorry, my computer is overheating right now. Give it a little break. The picture in the middle is a low-tech E-Tran board. So you'll see it's in a rectangle, and there's a rectangle in the middle as well. That would be held up so that the communication partner, or the teacher who's offering all of these different basketball choices to the student, they would be able to see what they're looking at. So if you're looking in the upper right corner, you have to be able to see in the middle what they're looking at. So that's called an E-Tran board. If you have some people who have some really strong eye gazing or eye looking, I would recommend looking up some strategies for using that. Okay, so here we go. Here are the three Big Macs in action. So this was our, maybe our jungle theme, we'll say. So this had some different stations in our dramatic play centers, and different things that you could do with the crocodile. So that's what the three Big Macs on that black board are. And then we also have that picture on the right, which shows a giraffe station, and there, the white with the red circle in the middle, that's a switch that has a pre-recorded message. I believe that one would say G, giraffe, G, or G. Okay, so those are just some examples of things we do in the classroom. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the assessments that we use in the classroom as well. And the really important thing about our interdisciplinary team is that we do complete our assessments together. While most of these are specific to our speech and language pathologist and what he's able to access just because of his licensing, it is something that we do complete together with our assistive technologists and our occupational therapists and our instructional aides. so that everyone's able to speak to the skills of the student and then not just one person observing and reporting on what they see. So we use the DRDP, which a lot of preschool classrooms do use as well. So I'm not going to go into that one as much. I do want to talk about the forms and functions and the communication matrix because that is real specific to the Bridge School. So the forms and functions and communication matrix was designed to access communication levels of nonverbal communicators. So it looks closely at the pre-intentional, intentional behaviors, and then also unconventional and conventional communication. So it kind of works its way from pre-intentional behavior to conventional communication. So things like how a child demonstrates their refusal or protest, requesting attention, requesting more, greetings, just for some examples. So these are primarily completed by the SLP, like I said, with the support of the whole classroom team. However, this does need to be completed by the SLP himself or herself, themselves. And it is a useful tool that we use in the classroom just to show the areas that need to be addressed. So if a student really, you can clearly tell that they're greeting a friend, then you would just see what the next step from there would be. And then, like I talked about earlier, we do have our MacArthur-Bates first words. This is really helpful with vocabulary development and what we need to use in the classroom, but also just to collect data on what the student is able to, what the student knows, which vocabulary words. So this is just an example of the communication matrix. So it goes, like I was saying, pre-intentional, intentional, unconventional, conventional. So it shows you what they're emerging, what they're mastered, if they've surpassed that, and then what they're building on. So to give you an example, express discomfort in pre-intentional behavior. That's something really basic, like a cry, a grimace, something like that. Refusing or rejecting for unconventional communication, though, that could be like pushing things away. So it's able to be interpreted by more people. Okay, so what I like most about Bridge, this is our little community of people. All of our students are pre to 5. So I really like working with this community of people, working with severe speech and physical impairments. I learn something new every day, and it really challenges my ability to make adaptations to materials, to the environment, and to activities in the classroom. And I really like working within this community. So because Bridge School, as I mentioned, we can have maximum 14 students at one time. So what's really fun about that is that during all of our special events, it's the whole school, and it's only 14 students and their families. So we are really able to establish relationships with the older students in the elementary classrooms and also with the students in our own classroom. And it's nice because when our students leave my classroom, they just go next door. And so I'm still able to maintain and see them every day, which is really nice, especially just for continuity of care. In addition to that, my school day ends with my students at 12:30 and the elementary class ends at 2:30. So I actually am able to go into the second classroom, the elementary class, and be an aide at that point and help them finish their afternoon activities. So it's really nice because I get to learn more about older students, the different type of content involved in their curriculum, and also I get to explore different high-tech communication systems. At that point, a lot of the older students have more high-tech, whereas my class is a lot of low to mid-tech. So it's really fun to just explore and learn more that way. So if you're interested in knowing more, I definitely recommend you visiting our website. I also recommend you looking into the preschool program portion of our website, just because it breaks down what we do in each section a little bit more than what I did. And there's just so much information to know about our population and how to serve them. And I really hope you guys take that and just run with it. So as I mentioned, I'm definitely open to you all emailing me if you have any questions. Observations are postponed right now, but we would love to have you all come and observe. If you need to do like interview a teacher or just observe in a classroom maybe next semester or in the future, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help the program. All right, everyone. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this. It's always fun to talk more about my kids, my little babies, and my programs. So, yeah, take care, everyone. Stay healthy. Stay inside. Take care.